Good evening. This is Doc for the ReadySetCrypto OMNIA trade of the day for Thursday, the 19th of November. BTC continues inching higher versus the US dollar. Right now, it's up to about 18,000. We are very, very close to exhaustion, although that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stop right at that point. This to me is always the very toughest technical challenge, is to identify when and where a top hits, because this is where we get absolute emotion kicking in, and it mostly is fear. It's not greed. Greed is where people have a very, very strong hand and they want to increase the strong hand. Fear is where you don't have a strong hand, where you have a weak hand and you're hoping that it goes higher because you just bought it 17,000. So question is from people saying, what on earth would make the price go down from here? And it's absolutely fear. If you bought in at this level up here, if you waited and couldn't take it any longer, you bought in at 17,500, what happens if the price starts to go below there? You and millions of your closest buddies will start to puke out your position and say, well, you know, like I don't want to watch this thing go down to 14,000. I couldn't take that, right? And so it starts a chain reaction to these things. It's always human emotion, which is what is going to push markets around. Now, what I talked about yesterday is that I think we're just about at the point where we're going to move from this sort of parabolic uptrend to more of a choppy corrective pattern. And that can take many different forms. It can go sideways, it can pull back, it can do kind of a combination of those two. But if we do have a healthy market, and this is what I want to impress upon you, is that we want those pullbacks. If this is a healthy market in accumulation, then you want the pullbacks. You don't want this to go straight up. That would be the greed, right? If you've got a strong hand, you want it to keep going. But a market that keeps on going higher and goes higher, infinitely higher, always has a very nasty back to it, as we found out in 2018. So I do want to see this sort of transition into a sort of a volatile zone here, and we may be able to pick up some at 16,000. That would be a good level to pick up, and 14,000 is another one that I called out over the last couple of days. So are we going to hit those? Who knows, right? We don't know. We don't know what the future holds. We don't know where the price is going to go. All you can do is program yourself in terms of what you will do depending on what the price does. So don't focus your time trying to predict something that you can't. Instead, spend your time telling yourself what you will do depending on what the price does, whether it goes higher, lower, or sideways. Okay, so much for Bitcoin. We have some other assets that are actually setting up really well. This is Ethereum, reminds me exactly of what BTC went through before it went on this epic run above 14,000. It was exactly the same sort of running consolidation. Look at the energy here. And we have both daily and weekly setting up. Ripple's starting to get it, right? And this is Ripple's forming that base that we talked about, the sort of cup base. And we have other assets that are doing the same thing. Actually, Litecoin is getting it on today. And this is forming a much bigger base. You can see this one kind of on the weekly chart. This is a great big base here that's got about a 60-point depth to it. So this could be pointing to somewhere up in the 140s near all-time highs on Litecoin from there. Again, it wouldn't hurt it to see it form the handle. It's always good to see consolidation and not just go straight up. I know we all want the price to go straight up, but it's actually much, much better if it takes pauses like this and goes in a very measured fashion. It is still not all season because we still don't have the conditions where if you're running BTC as the base currency for your altcoin, it's still not going to be very good for that, right? So one of the coins that has been attracting some attention is AAVE. Let's kind of expand this one out. This is a fairly new one. And this one is looking good and it's moving in a very nice fashion, right? So even though this has been, you know, one straight move, this is done so with consolidation in the middle. So notice what's happening with this. It's moving in it's breaking out, consolidating, breaking out, consolidating, kind of that stair-stepping movement. which is, I believe, very, very important for sustained performance. So would you rather have something that moves like this, or would you rather have something that moves like this and then collapses in a heap on the other side? Myself, I'd rather have the former and not the latter. Still very much a top 10 market, guys. That's it for today's report. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the weekend report. Take care.